Hi friends, today I'm going to illustrate key things in magic that is life itself. So let me start by showing you this little drawing where there is the inner eye, that is the self, and then there's this little angry emoji, and that is the left, and there is the blissful emoji, which is the right. This is the Holy Trinity, and this is also yourself beyond the experience of the game, and then you as the left and right. Now on the left side you have a beast, and on the right side you have this angel. And things would get very complicated and paradoxical if we are stuck in duality, which would be constant battle between the dragon and the angel. And I will also talk about the concept of pendulums, which is a term from Transurfing, a series of books by Vladimir Zilat. I'm not super sure if this is the name, but this is where energetically I understood how these binary oppositions of good versus evil work on a larger energetic scale, and it's very interesting to know. So if there would be no observer self, then simply we would be identified with either left or the right. Now if you imagine two people discussing what is left and what is right, or let's say you replace this left and right with good and evil, but you can put it in any costume you want. Here's a simple fact. If somebody sits opposite of me and we start to say, I say, this is right, and they're sitting opposite of me, so they're saying this is right, but they're turned this way, so they're saying that the right is over there, and I'm saying the right is over there. So simply because we are looking from the opposite direction, we have a picture that is inverted, it's not mirroring. Now I'm not sure if this is gonna, like if I say this is right, you might get a mirrored picture. I'm not sure how this camera is recording the video, so it might work as a mirror. It's not very good to try to explain this via phone, okay, because sometimes it automatically flips the image. But basically, two people sitting opposite of one another, you know what I mean by this. They could never resolve this argument if there was always identification with either or perspectives. Now, if you can pull the perspective to another dimension, you can conclude that they are both right about what is right at the same time. Like this, we can also conclude that there would be no good or evil, that would only depend on the perspective. Heroes and villains, it would depend on perspective. The righteous ones, therefore, always produce karma. Now, what is karma? So, the Taoists, they say, in order to do good, we have to stop to trying to be good. If we are trying to be good, we are identifying with the righteous perspective, we are failing to take the whole picture into the account, so we are identified with only one side, and therefore whatever actions we take from that single person point of view, where we are identified with that point of view, we will necessarily cause harm as long as we are identified. We will just not see it. The good comes when we can join perspectives and work together towards something greater. This is the true good. The good where I think that I am doing something good, well, you know what they say. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And this is simply when we are identified with the doing. Now, we might be also identified or possessed by the beast, possessed by this self-defense qualities that might overtake, so that's like anger, frustration, self-interest, self-preservation, which is a natural quality. Selfishness, if it's balanced, let's say we are both selfish and then we also are 50% selfish, so 50% left. 50% we are well-intended. Now we can make if we have that in our awareness, we can create a win-win situation. Let's see what is the best way that serves both of our needs. I want to help you out. I need to also get some kind of assistance, and I recognize that you need to receive some assistance, and this is how businesses are formed, when there is a win-win. That is a type of transaction, energetic transaction or business transaction or even interpersonal transaction, where everybody is fed and everybody prospers, and we're building to something greater by the means of cooperation. So only by recognizing the selfish innate qualities that are I want to eat, okay, I need that, yeah. So by recognizing that, and also here's what I have to offer, here's what I have to give, I will gladly share this with you, right? So we need to find, by inquiring into the situation, if we ask ourselves this question, in this situation with everybody involved, what is the best outcome for everyone involved? Then we will simply not be defining the situation by what we are identifying is good. We are then humble enough to even say that we don't know, and we are assessing the situation. We are assessing the situation in a way that we say, okay, so here's everybody involved, so what is the best outcome for everyone involved? If we partake in life in this way, we will build fruitful relationships. Now it is also to discard what was the best solution yesterday and have the flexibility, be like water, my friend, have the flexibility to inquire without knowing. This is a trap of the mind. If we have known something that was good yesterday or bad yesterday, we might tend to form an idea that we know something. Then we're falling into another identification trap. Life rolls on, and every next moment, even though it coincides with the previous memory and looks like something that we have known, it is a new occurrence, and things have shifted. So by knowing that we don't know, another Taoist, Lao Tzu, saying, the wise man knows what he don't know. So if we know that we are always a beginner, even though previously we have achieved different levels of wisdom or understanding or mastery, true wisdom is application of not knowing. And this wisdom only exists as long as we can be innocent enough to be without presumption, without identification with the previous knowing. In that way we can re-examine every situation from the beginning, and then of course our previous knowledge will rearrange with this new inquiry, with this new insight. So what we have known before can serve us, but only if we start from scratch and be open ourselves, right, for that new insight. Then a previous strategy might come into our observation, something that worked before, but it does not come from assumption or identification with that knowledge, it comes from openness. Now, again, when there is two sides, if we identify with either left or the right, we're not seeing the bigger picture. If we take the perspective of the observer, then I have this, hey, alright, and here's me, so I'm seeing what both of them do, and then I can actually get a holistic perspective. And this is how creativity works. Creativity simply works when we are restricted, confronted, or working within a limited structure that we call a problem. Instead of grinding on that problem, if we ask ourselves what is the solution, then the higher intelligence gives us that solution, and we are actually implementing then something new which resolves the limitation, so we transcend the limitation. Most of the people may fall into a warrior mode, where simply by grinding, by hustling, by attacking with all their strength the existing limitation, they might get some results. They might get a small daily transcendence, but the energy that they will exhaust will simply be enormous, and we might move only an inch. So that is like not thinking about implementing wheels to the car. We might use a lot of gas, we might use a lot of strength, we might use a strength of 1,000 armies to advance that car down the road. But simply, if we have inspected a situation, there might be a little tuning, a little fixing, repair the tire, repair the wheel, something like this, add the wheel to the cart. It makes it much more efficient. Now, the wheel is not an invention of somebody, it is a channeling of that higher intelligence, which can deliver us the spiritual knowing or the insight or the inspiration or the imagination, which comes from our absolute self, where there is always a solution. And by the way, the absolute self is yourself in your third eye and in your left and right eye. This is the observation of the future and the past. The right eye sees what is about to come, the left eye sees what is the past. The past has given us a foundation, which also represents a limitation. And the future is giving us an opportunity. Now, these two can be seemingly in such a contrast that we don't know how to make synergy and actually play the game or allow the game to play itself, because this is the effortless way. So let me say how. So let's say you want to buy a house, and you can imagine that, and then your reality right now is saying that you don't have the sufficient resources like money to buy the house. So this is the left and the right. The left is saying what is simply presented by your past actions in the now moment. So it is sort of a configuration of the past that is also rendered as a physical reality. All of your previous choices led up to this reality. Now, the right is simply seeing the future potential, right? And so this may seem like a situation without resolution unless we synergize both hemispheres of the brain to enter in the creative state or the state of flow where the inspiration flows. Well, here's what I could do. Right? That idea comes. So we're always using the binaries and we're always using the Trinity. Now, here's where we might fall out of balance. We are too dreamy about the future, we are not recognizing the current limitations. Or we're too concerned with the limitations and we're afraid to step into the future. This is the disbalance of the hemispheres. Now, if we understand that this is a game where we are the self in the subdimensional space, the observer, and then there are perpetual updates of the scenery in which we are kind of involved with our actions, we can just dance through it. And this is also not getting attached to this limitation of the present or arriving to that future. This is just enjoying the process of slowly playing in the update of the screen. The screen is always changing pixels and you see animation on the screen, so the picture is moving. And so I'm playing with the words, I'm dancing with this energy, and then the dream goes on. Now, am I even thinking right now about accomplishing this video. No, I'm talking, so I'm just entertained by what is happening right now, having some tea. I'm not concerned about how many views I'm going to get. So right now, it's immersion with this process, and there is a frame every single 24th of a second. There is a frame that is refreshing on your screen. So that animation, that change on the screen, that perpetual locomotion of changes, we call life. Animation means life. Or we can call it the Tao, the perpetual unfolding, which is nature in itself. So if we understand that there is a perpetual unfolding, we can also escape the identification of I am this talking head with this body and I am doing this, which we call the ego. When I'm immersed in this one perspective, say I take this perspective or I take that perspective and I say, okay, I'm doing this. And then I might add different layers of the mind to that, like it depends on me. If I don't do it, then something will go wrong. I must struggle, I must fight to do this. So the nature never requires a fight. It's a slow progression that can be vouvoied or effortlessly played out. Even in battle, even in combat, even in fighting, even if there is, like if I go to gym and I'm like lifting the weights, it doesn't necessarily need to be over pushed. You can be still playful and gracious. And this if you go to the gym, a lot of people today, they're combining, vinyasa yoga and all different kind of yin yoga and all different kind of practices and the tai chi. So when they come and they do the weights, it's still that idea of struggle, but now they're combining these different techniques of just moving in the energy in a different way. And all of a sudden this complements their bodybuilding in a way that is just becoming less obsessed. And they're still building, they're still going for those heavy weights. But they can do it in a way that is more fun and destroys, actually leaves more space for the flow of the energy, for the nature to do that. So I can be either identified with the doer, or I can leave it to the Tao. The nature does it. I'm playing through that flow. And if we understand that there is a flow that is greater than this body or person that is an identity that's made up, okay, it belongs to the identification with the body and like I am the doer. Where I am is not the doer, I am is simply the observer that is always relaxed behind the scenes in the subdimensional space. There is no doer. There is only the doing, which is the nature itself in every aspect. So when you're dancing through life like this, it does not depend on your individuality whether something happens. Whatever you're seeking, it's seeking you. If you are looking for a business partner or a life partner, there is at the same time that same idea is reflected into the world, into somebody who is looking for exactly you as their life partner or business partner. You're looking for investors, they're looking for you. Somebody is trying to give a favor, somebody is asking for a favor, great. Inspiration, our ideas, when we are in the flow, where we are feeling inspired, whatever we are receiving as a picture, as an imagination, as a thought form, the complementary thought form exists because the nature feeds itself inspiration. See, it's not one man who has the copyright for some wisdom. Lao Tzu. It's always the Tao talking. It is always the Tao talking. It is the Tao that wrote all songs, created all artworks. Only in the recent civilization we have become so infatuated with the mind that we got lost in this labyrinth of the mind and fell into the story of a character in the world. And this is like, this has entertainment value, only, but getting lost in the world couldn't be achieved without the universe and the game of life developing the mind labyrinth. So you are lured into these stories by your own mind. That is a trap. Entertainment. Now, the Taoists, they say the wise man takes a royal distance from all these thoughts and understands it's just a stream of water that comes in many shapes. And I can sit here and the water can go through me, and I don't have anything to do with these thought forms, whether they are positive or negative. I'm laid back in the observer, right? But if I jump into the movement or momentum of any of these sides, they're gonna take me for a ride. This is what they do. So how to understand then these pendulums? And this was amazing, because here's the thing, a true story. Back in the day, I practiced meditation so much that I just became this I in the subdimensional space, or nothing was left of the thoughts in my puppet, in my body, in my avatar. Nothing was left of the thoughts. There was only the observer left. At that point also the timeline and my body would also disappear and dissolve. So it was pretty obvious that the game is a dream construct and that it has its own rules, and that I am existing even beyond this experience, and that I'm this also formless consciousness. And then there were other also worlds, so to say. They have different dynamics perhaps, but what is same and with these worlds, that you are within or without the world you are, and then you can change the world, like changing the video game on your screen. You can be in a completely different universe. So when I was left with only the self and no ideas running through the mind, that felt pretty effortless and then also motionless. I could sit there for days on and not much would really occur. So I decided to go and play the game. Now, to come in a complete equanimity or neutrality and just rest as the observer, the game would throw all kind of things at me, which were either objects of desire or objects of resistance. So the highest objects of desires are shiny things, and just beautiful things. And the objects of resistance were the things that mean death and annihilation and are just gruesome and gross. So I had to be non-affected by either. in order to stay completely centered. And by that time, I faced the most evil, gruesome dragons and like killers and armies or whatever. And then I saw it all to be a play and sort of like a hallucination, a dream, by just remaining non-reactive. And at the same time, I saw the most beautiful, most sexy, most riches, most everything. And I also remain neutral. So without temptation of good and evil, sort of resigned from the game. And then I decided to play the game again, and I've kind of thought everything was funny, but I started accumulating identities again. And I wasn't doing a very swift job of accumulating, assessing these identities, whether they serve me or not, and then dissolving them if they don't serve me. Somebody would offer me to play an angel in their movie or the devil in their movie, and I would participate because I thought it was more fun than to just be still having an avatar, still being in the game, but not playing. But then I understood that when there is a game of binaries, when there is not a clear observation from all the participants in the game, whether there is left and right, the angel and the devil, and there is also a haha moment because you are playing both, okay? Because it's only one self that is playing through the Tao. There is only the Tao. These like characters are simply mostly unreal, and that's a whole other episode. So I found it then hard to exit these games. Like the energy, like I would start this binary opposition game, and here's what was happening energetically. If we imagine we start to play table tennis or ping pong, and the more we return the little white ball, the more fun, like, you know, when the one I serve and you return and then I return and then you return and then I return, and it's all this energy is building up, and finally when the ball goes off the court, this energy will kind of like maybe simmer. But then if we introduce a new serve, the match might start to get more exciting and more exciting. And this is the illustration of the energetic buildup. And all of this can be played in fun and sportsmanship, realizing that we're just playing a game, and that we can come in and they get really excited and competitive and takata, 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 and then go out of that, and still, whether we won or lost, it doesn't really affect us, and then tomorrow it might be a new game or not. And this is really important when we go into an energy exchange with somebody, whether we decide to play fight or have a competitive play, or we're just going to build something together where we're still going to dance our different channels of creativity, which are coming from one channel, but we need to see how they fit in together, so it's a dance, right? So it's all fun and games, but we really want to open and close the energy exchange. Now, when we give our roles and the presumed identities some momentum, but we do not exit those roles over time, like daily, then momentum of what we are doing may pick up. And wow, I better give an example to this. This was like completely disastrous. Like I would have an argument, a binary opposition argument. So people offer me, hey, we are doing this politics. Do you want to play the other side? And I would enter that and just, they are looking for somebody to channel that energy. Okay, perfect example. Oh my god, I'm like still need to let go of all of this stuff. So it's wow. This is highly destructive stuff. Wow. I'm only like wow. I'm still realizing that energetically I'm still holding the scripts of these games inside of my body, and they, like, I left the situation and that confrontation, that conflict ceased, but the script stayed within me. And that means karma. That means I'm going to play out that script later. And it's in the subconscious, so I don't even know it. So look how it went down. And, you know, parental advisory. Oh my god. I am not informed about politics because it's a waste of energy to play these binary oppositions if they're not constructive. If there is a synergy, a trinitized perspective, so you're seeing both sides can work together to something greater, then voila, that can be a fruitful relationship. And I need to have assessment and discernment of what I'm doing. But sometimes something is inviting us to play, but we don't know. It's just going to play to the endless battle of the opposites because nobody is seeing larger perspective. Or even if one side is trying to see the larger perspective, they can only step out of that if the other side is only looking to perpetuate the conflict. So a few drunk ladies who I was finding to be very entertaining. They were fun. They were like pissed. Okay, they came on a vacation. They were pissed drunk and they were fun. I thought they were like pretty fun because it was entertaining how drunk they were. Soon enough, they were politicking between themselves about, now they offer me the hook. Hey, okay, you new guy at the table, I'm not even drunk. Would you say that Black Lives Matter or all lives matter? Now I'm taking that as a invitation to drop some philosophy. And it's a game. It's like find. And so I didn't understand that I needed to see that both are true. And to say both is true. Black Lives Matter and all lives matter. So all lives matter and Black Lives Matter is both true, would be true. And here is where I took the bait. And I said, similar thing, I said, all lives matter because that includes Black lives. But I took the side in what was offered. I was offered left and right, and I said, well, I'll take the right because it includes the left. So already I don't need to think about Black Lives Matter because I'm taking that it's already assumed when we say all lives matter. So I'll take the right choice. And lady went and she said, so you're saying that Black lives don't matter? I'm like, that is not what I'm reading from these choices. If I said that all lives matter, so I chose the right, I think the left is included in that. She says again, you are saying that black lives don't matter. And I try to explain myself. Now, once you're offered a binary opposition, adding anything to it just feeds the conflict. So whatever I did to explain myself and try to unify, because they were not looking to unify the perspectives, they were looking to further polarize, well, it just drove me into feeding this ping pong, and the game started to be very intense very soon. Like in a minute, like energy was being poured into that game, even though I was not consciously really trying to play the opposition game. I got into it by simply exchanging perspectives with those people who were playing the binary opposition game. Now, transurfing philosophy explains that there are these binary oppositions, these pendulums, that are way larger than individuals. They are larger than groups of people, and they have so much energy. So you can imagine this as like astral energies. They go like a nation in the astral will have a large energy. So if you identify with being a member of that nation, if that nation is in a conflict with other nation and everybody is feeding that pendulum, so that swing between the polarities, and you identify, then this larger energy current will take your individuality and feed this binary opposition pendulum. So it will keep swinging. And these pendulums are highly destructive because they will involve all of these individuals, and they will use them until there is a crescendo or a complete destruction, when that energy can then fall down and simmer out. So taking sides in binary opposition ultimately will teach us to stop taking sides, because every time we will lose. Only by unification of sides, conflict resolution or synergy, by remaining equanimous or neutral, we can actually transcend the conflict into a creative solution which serves both sides. So if I would have said black lives do matter and all lives do matter, I don't even have to explain that. I can hold that perspective, and then energetically other people need to come into that observation. That's not taking sides, that's holding ground for integration, healing, synergy to occur. Now, healing does not occur by doing or trying to heal or trying to integrate. It works when we surrender into that neutral perspective. There can be a shaman, healer, or navigator, or a third party that is not involved in the conflict of the binaries, that is navigating the integration by always holding that objective perspective. So this is the I when I'm seeing, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. So if I'm seeing, I can be like, hey, okay, what do we have in common? And then guide these two blah, 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 to kind of like see that they have something in common on where they can integrate, right? And this is called also polarity integration when we are doing the inner healing. If there have been ideas of the, for example, persona and the shadow that have become polarized in our own inner energetics, this is the way to integrate when we're talking about the outer binary opposition, pendulums. We also need an relaxed observer. So pendulums can be highly destructive, and when we enter that point of identification with left or right, it may not be just about you and me debating over something. We might start to debate over something that the world is already debating about, and then that debate is gonna get really energized because the waves of that energy from the world will overtake the individuals. And then we lose our individual freedom and we become vessels of these larger forces. And our individual freedom is always to, we can either subscribe, we can choose our battles, we can either subscribe or we don't have to play in any type of binaries. We can only also choose the dancing pendulums that are trinitized, that always have this pyramid, okay, with the eye on top and two eyes on the bottom, where we are like, okay, so let's find other people that are, this is the Illuminati, but illuminated really means enlightened, so it means we are past the binaries, right? So here's another pendulum. Illuminati is a conspiracy, it's something evil, right? That's again just keeping you polarized and not allowing you yourself to be illuminated. If you jump on this train of there is an evil outside of me and I am the righteous one, or it can be also flips, like I'm the evil one and the world is I don't know, too good. I need to destroy it. So jumping on a train of any binaries will ultimately lead into a distorted identification, and distortion really means when things are out of balance and then the train is driving us. To restore balance, we need to jump off the train, and we can do that by simply stating that we are unsubscribing from all the pendulums and acknowledging them, and then energetically getting out of that train, getting out of that energetic costume, getting out of that debate, getting out of that conflict. And this is a place of forgiveness, which is not about, which is understanding that we are all just the puppets that can be the puppets of these greater forces, or we can have our own individual freedom because it is given to us to play the game and have these choices. So to bring some conscious awareness into the energetics of how these things work may allow us to have more mindfulness, more presence, and discernment when we are being offered these binary oppositions, and then simply see if it is going to be a sport match that is already predefined to last 1 hour, and then we play a chess game with somebody, and then before and after that chess game we are friends, right? And or we can play chess game of karma through lifetimes, never exiting into the field of the self, where we are saying the enemies have all been me, the allies have all been me. So by letting go of that playground, everything is forgiven and undone, because it never really existed in the first place, but it was an immersive experience that we subscribed into. Now, if we do not unsubscribe, then we can carry these subscriptions throughout lifetimes, and that is called simply karma, because we are holding somebody accountable for some vengeance from something they did to our tribe a long time ago, and now it's going to perpetuate, and we're going to keep coming, you know. They might become your spouse in this life, or they just, and the same kind of conflict over the same binary opposition will be recreated energetically in this experience. And what karma is teaching is simply to go into Trinitized perspective. Because if we assume roles that are binary opposing, this is gonna be a never-ending vicious cycle. Until we decide to go out of it, let go of playing that, which is energetically means forgiveness, which just means stepping out. And therefore, there is no need to actually be involved in that, and from our discernment, from our conscious awareness, we can build choices that are trinitized. This is especially important because we are coming out of the age of Pisces, which was all about choice. So it was all about binary oppositions. Do we want to go right? Do we want to go left? No, let's go left. No, let's go right. So it was all about politics. And now the age of Aquarius is bringing this enlightenment to everyone. So we are sort of leaving those endless quarrels behind. There you go.